Viewer discretion advised. This episode of High and Hello is brought to you in part by Dreams. Dreams. Follow 'em, kid. Yo, everybody, before we jump into this week's episode, I want to give you a little background on the band that we got in today. I'm sitting down with the lead singer of the Isolated Brigade. That's right, Stevo himself is in the studio. They got their music on everything, man. You can go to Apple Music. You can check them out on YouTube. They're on Spotify. They're on iTunes. They're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. Check them out at the Isolated Brigade. Join the brigade. Alright, folks, grab your black metal t-shirt and throw those devil horns to the sky, because High and Hello starts in 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of High and Hello. It's Tyler, as always. Today, I am joined with a guest I've known for roughly 5 or 6 years. Man, he's a rocker. He's the funniest man you'll ever meet. He's also well-mannered. Well-mannered to boot. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Stevo. Stevo, what's going on, man?
Yeah! Let's do this.
They're all clapping at home, man. They always do. We know you do, folks.
Oh, hello. Hi, Mom.
Yeah, give a shout out to Mom. Is Mom doing well?
Oh, she's doing great.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. So what's up, man? I know you got a lot going on right now. So before we jump into all that, I just want to get a little bit of the background real quick. Let's get the hellos out of the way.
For sure.
So, where are you from, man?
I am born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I've been here for 26 years, man.
26 years.
Let's get the age out of the way, too, while we're at it.
Knock it out. Love it. Well, I'm 26 as well, man, and I did not grow up in Chicago. And every time I meet somebody who grew up in Chicago, I always try to picture what their life was like just from the landscape of Chicago that I know. Which part of Chicago are you from, man? Where were your upbringings?
I was born and raised in Portage Park, so It's in the northwest side, not too far from Jefferson. So, yeah, it's my home.
Yeah. Did you venture off into the city very often as a child, or in your teen years? Were you out there running the train? And
in my teen years, yeah. Like when I went to Schurz High School, they had an improv class out, or they were showing this class called After School Matters for improv. And next thing you know, they were sending me out to Boys Town, to Lakeview, to Wrigleyville. And, it was a night scene I never saw. I would go to Cubs games all the time, but I'm like, there's a lot of crazy shit going on around here. So,
what age do you think you were when you walked past a building with live music playing?
I think it really started when I was like 13, started seeing it. But I would always see, like, right by my house, there was a bar called Nightcap, and right outside there was a huge marquee saying, which bands were playing, and it would be, like, a Black Sabbath cover band or a UFO cover band, and next thing you know, shit, I was playing there. Right. Time flies.
So at what age did you start either writing or picking up an instrument and, like, trying to learn?
I was really getting into music like when I was turning 10. Like, my mom was, always listening to Queen, always listening to AC/DC, and my dad was always with the Beatles and Metallica. And one of my favorite moments I can think of is the first time I heard No More Tears by Ozzy. I was on the expressway with my dad, and this was back when The Zone was on the air. And we're going to Elk Grove to visit my aunt, and my dad just starts cranking this song, and I'm like, what the hell is this? This is so awesome. And my dad was like, this is Ozzy, and blew my mind on
Changed
that.
Your fucking life.
Yeah, because, I knew who Ozzy was. I saw pictures all over my house.
Same.
But then, he's like, this is Ozzy, and I'm like, this is incredible. And the next day at school, I was showing all my friends about it, and they're like, have you ever seen the music video for it? And I'm like, no, I've never seen it. And they showed me the music video, and Zakk Wylde's going crazy on the ending guitar solo, and surely enough, it was like wind work. It was just like all of a sudden, my friend Jess calls me, and she's just like, hey, I'm trying to sell this guitar, do you want it? I'm like, sure. She's like, it's a Les Paul. It's nothing much. I'm like, I didn't even know what a Les Paul was. I'm like, yeah, let me get one of those. And it was the coolest fucking guitar I ever got. And I picked it up, started teaching myself, and the rest is...
Was it pre-internet, though, when you started teaching yourself? Or did you have to go down and buy, like, a chord book or something? A chord Bible? And
you had to, but I was just fascinated with, being able to put my finger on a string and my hand just going boom, boom. And I was like, wow, this is badass, I'm a rock star.
Right, absolutely. So. Who did you used to play your concerts to in your head? Like when you were you just in the living room when mom and dad were at work or something? Like where did you garage or something? Where'd you go to jam it out?
I would usually start. Actually, it was my grandfather would show me this guy named Ray Stevens, and he was kind of like a Weird Al Yankovic kind of guy, and he would make parodies of different songs, and my grandpa would turn us on, and I thought the songs were funny, so I'd sing them to him, and then all of a sudden, like at family occasions, he would go like, "Oh, did you hear Steve sing this song?" And I'm like, I don't know why I made him sound southern. but the next thing you know, we're at family occasion. I'm singing, The Day the Squirrel Went Berserk, in the St. Matthew's Church, and and I'm like, this is the best day of my life. Everybody's enjoying me singing this crazy ass shit, and I'm like, all right, cool. But rock concerts. The first concert I ever did that I can really remember was I was in a band called Sin of the Century. Well, before Sin of the Century, it was called Scourge, and it was a couple buddies that I went to elementary school with, and we got a call to play at this next big thing at the Congress Theater. And
holy shit!
First show ever was at the Congress Theater, and it was a battle of the bands. And I believe we opened up for, if I'm not mistaken, what the hell was that? It was an emo band. They were huge back in the day. I think the guy from Skrillex was he was in that band before.
Yeah.
For the sake of me, whoever's listening, I'm sorry. You probably think I should know this emo shit, but I don't. I can't remember it.
It's okay, man. It's okay.
It was like something like Bleed Me to Death or something like that.
Right.
Bleed Me with Tears.
Bleed Me with Tears. Fuck. That's funny. So you were playing shows and stuff. You said, how old were you during that first show?
I was 14.
14.
Yeah.
Do you remember being getting ready to go up on that stage?
I do.
Was the crowd as big as it was in your mind?
Actually, I mean, we had maybe about 600 people there, because they were in the other room, but the Congress is huge. So I mean, there's people in the back, there's people on the balcony, and you really couldn't see from the stage. But and I also had my Ozzy glasses on. And I had fucking skulls out. If you looked at me, you saw skulls. And
that's dope as shit.
And then I was wearing a top hat that my buddy Bruce Eklund gave me. He's the bass player of Sleaze. Shout out.
Shout out to Sleaze, indeed.
And he gave me that top hat, and I was just backstage talking to my buddy Ogre that looked like me. And I was like, buddy, you got your trip pants? We need trip pants, because that's the coolest thing. If you have baggy trip pants on stage with chains, they're gonna love it. It was a show.
I remember growing up, I had a friend who kind of was my first introduction to Ozzy, and she went from this girl next door to a Hot Topic runway model over a summer, and it was Ozfest every year. It was it wasn't insane, but it was crazy. To see somebody who's I'm doing it, man. Fuck it, I'm chopping my hair off. I'm getting into this lifestyle. And she rolled with it for years. You know what I mean? And later, she kind of phased out of it a little bit. But to see somebody who reps their brand. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's another thing that kind of set you apart from everyone else in the city to me at the time. I was like, oh, here's this guy, and he's got
who's this schmuck?
Not even. I seriously stopped and I was like, he isn't gonna lie. I was like, no, he's got nothing. He wears it right on the fucking sleeve. Like, there's nothing about this person. Like, in a way, somebody, if they were dressed the way you were, and you're like size, because you're like.
And I had very long hair back then.
You had long hair back then. It was really long. It didn't have the side shave like it does now. This is for the new album. Is that what it is? You got to look for each setup.
You know, everybody has to do a transition into going, oh, well, that was then.
Right.
This is now. And that was 2 years ago, actually, right when the Isolated Brigade started. I shaved my side of my hair, and then I get a phone call from my old band. They're going, yeah, we want to work with you again. I'm like, all right. So now this is the look.
I dig it, man. I dig it. You look good. You look good, kid.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Stop it. I'm blushing. They can't see that I'm blushing.
I know, I gotta keep my voice down. My wife's in the other room. For real, though, yeah, it was something that set you apart. And like I said, when I moved to Chicago, I started gravitating to people who seemed just real. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There was no bullshit. Just cut all that out. You're not in high school anymore. Like, we're all in the real world, and we're all adults. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, yeah.
And we're all here together. We're all trying to make it work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And yeah, your attitude towards life, just even in like the quick interaction we had, like you were. I probably seemed like a fool because I was that hot child in the city, like walking around like I just got off
like
the Glee.
Like I told you earlier. Like when I first met you, I was wearing my Comedy Sports uniform.
Mm-hmm. It was at Comedy Sports Chicago
in the box office, and you're just like you're looking around, go, oh my god, look at all this, and I'm like, it's a lobby. And, the action's upstairs, right? Like, still, but I mean, you could stick around, take a gander.
I had to take it all in because, well, it was my first time.
For sure, yeah.
Well, looking at the windowsills and stuff, once you're actually inside of that, because you're on the sidewalk on Belmont, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you can pop into any of these little shops and these little doorways, and there's a whole new fucking world behind it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
There's some amazing places to go just on that block alone. You know what I mean? You can kill 5 hours.
That's endless things you can do on that whole strip.
Yeah.
I mean, back then, yeah.
I mean, to an extent now, I'd say. I mean,
yeah, still.
There's I'm kind of upset that they're closing up the army and they had to put it down to a different floor, the skate shop and all that. That's a building I'm gonna miss. Mm-hmm. You could always see some cool drifters and a dog hanging out front.
Yeah, I remember
just
those.
Just needing a square, just a square, man.
Just give me a square. My dog wants to smoke.
Yeah, my dog wants to smoke. And then lines like that though were said, and I'd be like, absolutely, kid, keep your head held high.
Yeah.
Fuck
woof,
your dad. Woof woof. Yeah, I hate your dad too, man. Don't worry about it.
You're mad at your dad, not at me. I forgive you.
So with that being that all gotta get off that topic because I'll just keep riffing on that all day. Those people were cool though. Yeah. But so you were working at Comedy Sports though. So what got you into trying to make people laugh, man? Were you a funny kid? I know it's a weird way to put it, but there's kids in especially
I was a hilarious
kid.
I was hilarious.
Did you ever have any regrets with your humor? Did you ever say some shit? Did you ever have to learn that lesson?
Oh, there was this is one show that always comes to mind. I was on a team called Team Bobby, and at the Playground Theater, and there was a scene with me and a couple of my ensemble members, and we're at a basketball game, and there's two black guys next to me, and my two black co-stars, and they go, oh, look at all these black people out and playing a ball game out there. I don't like that. I don't like black people playing in this game.
And that's what they're saying.
And I'm like, oh, shit, what the hell is my character going to be like,
Yeah.
And they just kept riffing for me to say something.
Right. And they were trying to work it out of you?
They were trying to work an N-word out of me. Oh. And I'm like, and you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. And but then they kept going, and then they finally got me to say the N-word. I'm like, neighbors. and the lights go down, but somebody actually thought I said the N-word, and then like everybody on my side is laughing, going, "You said neighbor, and I'm like, yeah, I wasn't gonna say the N-word, man.
Right? I mean, like, come on.
But it's
a tricky game.
It was a regrettable decision, only because for one person saying he said that.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I didn't say that. But it was funny as hell.
That's a clever way to get off that topic.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, that's another thing too, though, man. Like, when you're, from what I've heard and from what I've talked to with people, when you're on a team and like you're locked in and you're doing this weekly, sometimes 3 or 4 shows a week, like, it's not scripted. Like, sometimes people in the audience forget that there were times where I would sit in the crowd and watch some of the teachers of today and the veterans of yesterday kind of thing, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, how is this not rehearsed to an extent?
Yeah,
how
sure.
are they not like, back up, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
from everything I've gotten to see from behind the curtain, it's not that way at all. It really isn't.
Not.
They're just trying their best.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely applauding and shocked that you don't hear more stories about like this episode, like an improv comedy thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, like in this age of like, there's
that
people,
would
like
be.
there's certain things that like can really cause harm now. Like, you could be joking about a farmer and then someone could get mad because the animal was, being led to slaughter or something. You know what I'm saying?
You're walking on eggshells nowadays,
Yeah, and I hear it's the same way with stand-up. There's people who have great jokes, but they just don't know who's in their crowd anymore. You know what I mean? And so, I guess if you go for it, you go for it. But who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I mean, like, when I started doing comedy, it was back in 2006. My teachers were telling me, like, it's like, whose line is it anyway? We're doing short form comedy, and all of a sudden, I'm finding myself in a dress, and like they're like, oh, we're gonna have you do a sketch. Like, you wrote up a sketch about playing a Swedish person on American Idol. I'm like, okay. So I played a Swedish girl on the show for American Idol, and I'm in front of all my friends at Schurz, or even people I didn't even know. And I go out there and I've got my a short skirt on, got my hair in braids, and they're thinking I'm gonna start going honky honky honky. Right. But all of a sudden I'm screaming Slipknot songs at them. I'm singing Wait and Bleed, and like the whole crowd just starts losing it, going like, no, I didn't expect that. And I'm like, well, dress up like a woman and scream. That's funny.
Dig it, man. So how many shows do you think you played? I mean, let's do this then. How many years have you been doing improv, and how many years would you say you've been doing music?
Honestly, both of them were at the same time. I was doing a lot more comedy during high school, but I always had a drive to do music. Like, I was always on for doing a show. Like, I wanted to be in front of an audience. I wanted them, to feel like they're, it's an escape from the world. Because they always tell you before you get on stage, just leave the world behind you and be in the now, and, doesn't matter what kind of day you had, just go out there and make people laugh, or go out there and, make them fucking forget what their troubles were. And that was one of my main drives, because, I mean, everybody has a hard day. And my job, I think, is to make everybody, take a step back and just enjoy themselves,
Absolutely.
Like, if you've seen me perform comedy, or if you've ever seen me perform music, I'm having a great time. I want you to do the same. And there's no, like, negativity. There's no pointing somebody out. It's just, hey, we're here. We're all here to have a good time. Let's fucking do it.
Now, with that being said, though, give the folks at home a quick example of like what you would say your genre is when you go out to play.
Well, I'm in the Isolated Brigade right now, and we've called ourselves a hard rock band forever. But as of late, we found our sound. We've genuinely found our sound. We were at Uptown Studios recording Sky Gypsy, our latest EP. And, one song, the engineer's going, oh, yeah, I like that. Sounds like disco. Then my producer hears the next song, oh, this sounds like punk. And the engineer turns it around or reverses all the songs, and it's like, it just sounds like,
like an orgy
and then
something.
like one of my vocals things sounded like, suck your dick for beer, suck your dick for beer.
Oh my God, like someone working at Wrigleyville calling out, 25 cents, suck your dick for beer. The guy does like a little thing of fleshlights, and they're just passing them out.
Yeah. So now we're a disco porn punk band.
Disco porn punk, I dig that.
It just came to us.
How'd you meet the guys in the band?
I've known Max and Alex. Max is on the drums and Alex on guitar. I've known them since, God, I'd have to say I was 6 or 7 years old. And we were in Boy Scouts together. And, right after me and Max and Alex graduated through Cub Scouts, me and Max still stuck together through Boy Scouts, and we made it all the way to Eagle as well. But me and Max, we were in bands together when I was in high school. He was in my band Sin of the Century for a while. He also played the second time we were at the Congress for that same kind of Battle of Bands. And Max was always very into music. He was always playing piano, and I was like, Max, can you play the bass? And he's like, all right. Just picks up a bass, and next thing you know, he's playing in another band, and then he makes another band with Alex, and then I think it was 2010. They were doing a show at St. Bart's Carnival, and they said, hey, our singer kind of backed out on us. Could you possibly fill the slot? And I'm like, oh, what do you need me to do? just hand over all the songs they want me to learn. It's about 25 songs. I'm like, how much time do I have? A month. Okay, 25 songs in a month. All right. And it was all covers. We had no original music at this time, so I was doing covers of AC/DC, The Who, Metallica, Black Sabbath, and Alice Cooper. And it was a crazy, crazy show, actually. We were supposed to be on the stage, and next thing that happens, the priest of the parish told us that we had to just stand on the parking lot. And we're like, well, we didn't agree to, be pushed to, like, over a sewer, like, because I was literally singing over a sewer, and, it was really a bad thing on the parish's part for doing that, because I was a smart ass at that time. And so I was riffing against our priest. Jesus. I was like, all right, well, this song is for Father. This song is called Big Balls. So start playing AC/DC's Big Balls, and people were like, oh my God, what is wrong with them?
Right.
And
blasphemy. I
was just having a great time, and then like, oh, you thought that was bad. Well, no more Mr. Nice Guy. And then all of a sudden, dun, 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 dun. Like, all right, we're riffing into just beating this guy down.
You just did it, man. You went for it.
And
you made a stand.
The funniest thing was the next day I went back to the carnival, and my dad was like, oh, help me, giving me he's giving me a ping pong table. And I'm like, all right, Dad, we'll get the ping pong table. All of a sudden, Father comes up to me, and he just starts swearing at me, going off. You shat all over me, you asshole. What is the matter with you? And I'm like, and my dad's
this
like, what?
Long-haired hard rocker sitting there looking at the priest. Yeah. I'm looking Father John in the eye.
And, and my dad's kind of like, don't say anything, Steve. I don't know what's going on, but we got to get that ping pong table. Because I'm going,
don't fuck up.
Don't say anything bad to the priest.
I've talked to all the neighbors.
Because then I was like, and I'm going like, you've been judging me for what I wear, and I was, I was a rebellious teen, man.
Was that ever a thing? Like, did you ever get in any scuffles over the way you looked or dressed or the music you listened to?
All the time.
Did you throw some fists in your day, man? Being real, like, did you ever get fists thrown at you for being you?
Honestly, I never got a fist thrown at me for being that. That's because it was kind of like they couldn't throw a fist until they'd be like mid fist about to punch me, and then just crack a joke, and then like, "Oh, you good, white boy, you good."
Yeah,
and
I get you.
And it was, the only scuffles I really got was like, my family would kind of go like, "Oh, now you're piercing your ears. Oh, now your fingernails are painted. Oh, your hair's getting long."
Yeah.
And my defense all the time was like, Jesus had long hair. Like, give me a break.
That's interesting.
And I kept it clean. I never looked like, some street urchin,
Right. So, like, my hair, it can grow pretty long, but I've never dedicated to it. I was in a house where, like, 4 boys, and they all got their hair cut at the same time. But it was like, we're keeping it fucking not high and tight. Like, I didn't look like a military brat or anything.
Right.
But I definitely was like, I never was able to get it very long before inevitably someone would come by and just like, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And they're like, oh, your parents paid me like 10 minutes ago to just cut this up real quick. I'm like, you already started. What are you doing?
I actually found some old pictures of me not too long ago that kind of have like the same length as you.
Oh, yeah?
That's the same thing. Like, it just starts curling up.
Right.
Like that was what made me go like, no, I can't keep my hair this short. I gotta keep it going longer. Because it just curls up, and it's such a pain in the ass.
Right.
So I recommend growing it out longer.
Thanks, man. I was out in Louisville, Kentucky. I took a year off Chicago and went out there just to kind of like stretch my legs for a second. To be real, it was kind of nice. And I was working at this spot that was a like a forklift joint, and there was this dude there, like long hair. Like, I'm talking long, and like you can tell that it's been with him through time. Like just the way the gray streaks and the color he still has left. And I told him once, I was like, right when I started there, I was like, man, I was like, what do you use, mane and tail? And he's like, goddamn right I do. And I was like, all right, cool, man. I was like, I think I'm going to let mine grow out a little bit. It'll probably be like half length yours in about a year. And he's like, you're fucking ridiculous. He's like, there's no chance in hell. Yeah. But for $20, he's like, I'm going to see you in a year. And sure enough, he did. He's like, hair's nowhere near it. I paid him 20.
Like, I was not allowed to keep my hair long unless I kept it clean. And my hair was down to my ass, and I was, my favorite thing, that show actually right before that carnival show I did, that was the last time I had very, very long hair, because then after that I cut it off. I donated it because my girlfriend at the time was like, you should try something different. You
caved.
Yeah, I had long hair since I was like, I think I started growing it when I was like 11. So after 7 years of having it, I cut it off, and she's like, "Oh my god, you look so different." And we broke up not too long after that. I was like, it's like, thank you.
Going change.
That is, oh my god, if that is not the best breakup song.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my god, one of my buddies he posted that not too long ago, and I called him. I'm like, you alright? I know where you're going through, because when I go through it, you're just gonna hear do 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 do.
I had to, man. Pull it out there. So I gotta ask, man, did you ever go to Ozfest?
I went twice.
You went twice. Give me your Ozfest experience, because, like I said, I had a friend who was all about Oz and just like the life. Like she had the jeans with the crosses that go across them. You know what I mean? Yep. Hair went from like bleach blonde to like black and with like white ice tips and whatnot. But she introduced me to like a shit ton of music, and one of her friends that she made through the music, if you will, kind of changed my life one day. I was in line freshman year of high school, I think, getting lunch, and there was a chick who was like a junior or a senior, but she was a rocker. Like, she lived the lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? And she wore it on her sleeve as well. And I was standing there in line, and she goes, "Name 2 Nirvana songs." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "You're wearing a fucking Nirvana shirt. Tell me 2 Nirvana songs."
For sure.
And she's like, "And I don't want you to say Teen Spirit." And I was like...
I was that person.
Yeah. I was like, "Excuse me? Like, who the fuck are you?" Yeah. And I was like, Are you the music police? Like, are you the Kohl's t-shirt police for $10?
Dream Police, it's Cheap Trick.
Right. And she's like, "Do it." And I was like, "Can I tomorrow? Because I genuinely don't know." And I was like, "I kind of regret wearing this now." And then, like, it was one of those things. Like, there was 2 times in my life where
you didn't hear that,
happened.
Dave Grohl.
Yeah, Dave, you didn't hear shit.
You didn't hear that.
Well, I've grown. But with this being said, fucking, that time happened, and then another time where, like, I was wearing like an And One shirt or some shit, and there were certain kids in my school that played basketball, and they're like, "You don't play basketball. Why do you have a basketball shirt on?" And I was like, "I don't know, it's a shirt, like, my parents got it for me, because I only get so much clothes a year, and I picked this one." It was like, "Do you guys like it? Do you play basketball?"
I got beaten for that too. Like, they would say, because I went through a phase, and, you know, in elementary school, I would be wearing...
Kids were fucking mean, man.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean,
are.
Like, I was wearing Shaqs, you know, with the fucking the Velcro on the side, because everybody was wearing Jordans, and I'm like, I haven't got fucking money for Jordans, but these Shaqs, that's good. He's on cereal boxes,
right?
And and I would wear those.
I just picture you carrying the box. He's on cereal boxes.
Don't worry about it, guys.
It's life. There's no sugar. You have to add your own.
It's Gold Bond. But
it's away in the shoes.
And then you know, after that, you know, because I would wear, you know, a Bulls sweatband, because sweatbands were my thing. Extremely baggy pants, extremely baggy shirts, and didn't even know what the hell half of it was. Like, I was wearing a 3-6 Mafia shirt forever and did not know what the fuck it was. I was like, you know, like, they were like, "Oh, you listen to 3-6 Mafia?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in a gang." and
yeah, I'm in a gang.
What's up? You guys got Shaqs, bro?
Yeah.
I mean,
that level?
My gangsta. But
I'm thinking of making that a thing. We're gonna start calling it levels. You want that level?
You want my level?
That happened eventually.
But
somebody can claim it.
But then after that, a good friend of mine in elementary school said to me, he's like, you know, "Dude, we should totally go to the alley and be punks. We should go and be punks." And I was totally game for that, because I'm like, I am totally not listening to the same music that I'm wearing, and I'm tired of it. So I went to the alley, and I was blown away, especially by the prices.
Rest in peace, the alley. Rest in peace. The doors are now closed for good. Again.
That place, I mean, as expensive as it was, it has a lot of memories. Because, I mean, I still wear the first jacket I got there. You know, I still have a couple of my rings that I got there. Because my thing was like, oh, if you're going to be a punk rocker, you have to just wear a band t-shirt, and you have to have a chain wallet, and maybe like a wristband or something. And
for the folks at home, he has a band t-shirt.
A band t-shirt.
A chain wallet. and we swapped the bracelet for a choker because we've matured.
It's kind of like a necklace.
I like your rings though, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I always wish I could have been somebody who could like just rock a full set of rings, man. But I just never attempted it.
I wear rings on stage all the time. It's like, you know, I make sure that this is the hand I shake people's hands with, and this one is like pound it, you know. Yeah. But I was going through a phase of like listening to like everybody around me was dressed like this. That's how they got the girl, but then I realized I want that girl to, you know, notice me. So I would dress differently, and it's just stuck, you know. It's who I am, you know. And it's just like, I thinking back, it's just like all the crazy shit that, you know, I would do. Like, you know, I would do twisties in my hair when I was hanging out with juggalos. You know what juggalos are?
Yeah.
And I'd have twisties in my hair.
Fuck. Yeah.
Like I look like a fucking holiday ham. That's all. And I'd do the Liberty spikes, and thank you, Shelly Ramey. I'm gonna do a shout out for that.
She would always. Shelly Ramey, what'd she do for you?
She would always
do your hair for you.
She did my hair all the time, along with my buddy Mike Wareka. He was, they were the ones that had to go through that phase with me, going like, "Oh, he's listening to ICP again. All right, let's get him twisties. Let's make him look like a fucking clown." Or, I was doing makeup all the time. I was wearing clown makeup around my friends. I was a weird fucking kid just thinking about it.
Now, with that all being said, though, did that lifestyle bring any kind of a consequence, though? Like, are you less of a party man than you might have been when you turned 21 and you were trying to be the rock star out there? Did you ever get into that kind of fast-paced world of like, I want to be a rock star, so I'm gonna live a rock star life?
I was pretty much like, I was living like a rock star by, I was at a party every weekend or every night, and I was, like if I had a new song I recorded or a show coming up, yeah, you bet your ass I was at every place to like, promote, say, hey, I want to see you there, And I mean, like, people that know me since, I was a kid, they only know me really as like, there's the funny guy. He's got improv shows. He's writing films. Oh, and he's also in a band. So it's like, a rock star comedian.
Yeah, like a modern renaissance.
And I'm not against even having that. It's like, being remembered for, making them laugh, or, going like, man, he listens to good music and he writes music. It's really, I'm glad to have that as like, what people remember me by,
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I know I wasn't there for the whole ride, you know what I'm saying? But even to see where you're at today, absolutely, man. Like, and by the time this came out, I've already shared a few of the tracks out there. But it's great, man. It all works really well. Mm. And so one of the things is in the Chicago music scene, how many people are going out there trying to be rock bands compared to other genres? Is it pretty heavy for rock? Is there enough opportunities for you to get up each night and play a show if you wanted to? Or is it a little bit more of a niche group that there's only a few clubs that will accept the style?
I think there's only a few clubs that will accept the style. Like, I mean, we actually, like, I was in a lot of different bands over the years. Like, I count them probably about 9 or 10. But this band, we just been getting like the luck of everything. Like, we're the only rock band usually. Like, we'll play for a band that's playing a flute, or the next band is a reggae band, or the next band is a fucking a Backstreet Boy cover band. And it almost comes in our favor in the end, because it's like, everybody's going like, I don't really listen to this type of music. And then when we go on, it's like, oh, now I'm awake, and it works in our favor. But I mean, like, there's a very good amount of rock bands out there in Chicago, but it's so diluted with what the genre is, like, oh yeah, we're a rock band, and then you hear them and you go, I don't see the rock part of it,
Right.
I mean, like, Tenacious D can be an acoustic rock band for sure, but then some of them can be, this is a little too soft or a little bit too low energy to be called a rock band, and then maybe it's just me being, like a rock band, get my attention, have something to say, be a statement, it doesn't mean like, you have to dress up, but something about how you put yourself out there, you need to bring these people in. Because honestly, my philosophy of a rock band or a metal band, you got to bring those people to you, because it's a community overall, and I mean, it's a lifestyle.
At the same time, I kind of feel like I gravitate more towards bands than artists, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, than just somebody who's because like for some of these top 40 people of our time, just for examples of what our top 40s are. You see fucking a lot of the, like, Ariana Grande and this fucking, like, Post Malone and, like, all these people, but just for, like, the all across the board top 40, who the fuck knows who's playing the backing? And a lot of times it's just Pro Tools.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
yeah.
with that being the case, to where we're starting to fall into a society that's just okay with music being a recycled beat over and over, like a droning, like, it's almost like people are just zoning out when it comes to music now. And I can respect people who zone out and, like, feel the music, but not zone out so they don't have to pay attention. You know what I mean with that?
Yeah, I feel that when people say, like, oh, I'm just listening to Post Malone, you don't hear anybody talking about, like, who's helping him write this stuff, because he ain't writing it by himself. And I mean, like, I feel like I'm one of the last of the generation to, you know, feel like I remember. I can't say I remember, but we'll say I remember everybody's name in the bands. Like, if you said Black Sabbath, I can name everybody in the band. If you said Slayer, I can name everybody in the band. And, you know, and I know which instrument that they're playing, you know. Because when I was growing up, you had to know everybody in the band. It wasn't just because, you know, you were a fan. It was just kind of like courtesy. Like, they weren't just Queen. It was Freddie Mercury, Brian May, Ryder Taylor, and John Deacon.
Yeah.
You know, and that was Queen. So you had to remember those names just to, you know, influence you. Because if you are a musician, know the people that you're looking up to. Don't just look up to a band. Look up to the person that wrote the stuff.
With that being said, are you the man who writes the stuff in your current project?
I'm a co-writer.
Co-writer?
So I'll write lyrics and melodies. And one of our songs that's coming out soon, I wrote the guitar parts to it. But I mean, my whole thing is, like, I'm not a drummer. I'm not the best guitarist in the world or best bass player. And I'm not the best singer either. But, you know, I try to, you know, work with what I have with, you know, my bandmates. Because, I mean, we've been writing some pretty great stuff together. So it's kind of like we're all co-writers.
Sit around a table and try to crank out a song.
Like, you know, once an idea gets sent my way, we're all in the same room. And then we just go, okay, now we're going to switch this around, or we're going to keep going like this. Steve's going to scream, and then we're back into it, you know?
Yeah.
Or the new song we're writing right now is called Agony or Bliss. And I was reading the lyrics that Max wrote, because Max is another one who writes lyrics with me. And, you know, after reading all the lyrics, I just went like, ha ha! And I'm just like, yeah, there we go. And that's what brings us into the chorus. It's me laughing like a lunatic.
Right.
And that's the fun part, is like we have a lot of creative freedom within the group.
Absolutely. You guys ever get a little creative with it and just bring in some random, like, I'm gonna take 2 beer bottles real quick and just ding?
I'm waiting for that.
Are you gonna
to
get a
come.
little stompish with it eventually?
Yeah.
And just run a chainsaw in the background or something? You know what I mean?
I've always thought of, like, you know, because a lot of the bands that I look up to, like Rob Zombie will take stuff from movies, and, you know, that's how the song starts off, and then you can mix it up and go, hey, that works with my chorus. And I would want to be a little experimental with that. I mean, nothing, you know, right now, but down the line, I definitely want to give that a shot.
Forgive me if I'm misquoting here, but Brown Cow is one of the songs, right?
Correct.
So when I was listening to the new and improved version, in a sense, you know, like a nicer.
I sent you the older one.
Right, like the more demo-esque version. And once again, it's awesome, dude. I've been actually jamming it all day, and like
I appreciate that.
like the whole thing. I listened to all. Well, there's 5 on the EP or LP. What was it again? EP. So yeah, there's 5 on the EP. I probably gave it. It's a good like 30 minutes or so, all together roughly, and you went from 3 to 5 minutes over the 5.
Yeah, because I mean, like you think about it now, doing EPs. If you give an audience like 5 tracks, because I'm not saying that, you know, people wouldn't want to hear more, but, you know, when you get an album now, not everybody's listening to every track on an album. Like, it's kind of like, oh, these 5 songs click with me, but then these other 5, meh. So we're thinking, like, push 5, they hear them, they get to know them, and then we give them another 5, in a couple months, which we're hoping we can go back in the studio soon to record another 5. Because, we had a great time writing this.
What was that experience like, man? You're actually in there.
It was crazy because, our producer, Chris Herrera, I'm sure he knows this now, but, like, he's in a band called Chronic Edge, and the lead singer, the lead singer and guitarist of that band, he's the one who wrote the song 8675309, and, this band they kicked ass. We're playing at the Sandlot with them, but we opened up for them, and I was just having an off day coming from work, and I was like, we're going to go on stage and we're going to do it. We're going to play like we always do. Get up on stage, and these lights were literally like right in front of my face. And I'm not like, epileptic or anything like that, but that show, like, they were blinking, they were hot, and I'm getting to like my 8th song, and I'm like, oh shit. And I turn around, I look at my drummer, and I'm like, I'm going to faint. I am going to faint. I've been feeling like this for like the last 4 songs. Max, jump into an instrumental. So they start playing YYZ by Rush. And I run off the stage, they start playing the instrumental, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to just get some fresh air. And, all the people that were inside run outside to go, oh, good show. I'm like, I'm having an attack here. And, like, everybody's like, oh, great, oh, my God. I'm like, oh, fuck off. Like, oh, my God, I got one more. Go back inside. I got one more song.
Just let me breathe.
Yeah, oh, my God. And
that's in a weird way, though, like, looking back, that had to be such a cool moment, though, to be literally on the verge of a panic attack from, like, just what's happening around you. And then to know that all these people just came out to be like, yo, man, good job.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And my boss comes across the street from a bar going, are you guys on? And I'm like, yeah, we're at the last song. And she's like, oh my God, I missed it? And she was there before I got there. And so I'm like, get inside. Like, while I'm trying to, like, keep myself together, I'm like, get inside. We've got one more song going on. And right when I get back in, it's the last song, Devil in Disguise.
Yeah.
And, I played it as hard as I could. And, end the show like I usually do. And right when I got off the stage, I'm seeing, everybody, and I'm starting to, like, calm down, not feeling like I'm going to faint anymore. But then after the show, after Chronic Edge played after us, this guy Chris Herrera comes up to me, he's like, I like you guys. And I don't say that very often. And I was very, I was really like, is he fucking with me?
Right.
Because I'm like, I just almost fainted on stage, and I'm pretty sure it was clearly, you could see that, or I played off very well. And then he's like, oh, I want to produce you guys on an EP if you would let me. And we worked with him. He made it extremely easy to work with. Like, I think I was a pain in the ass for him. Like, I was going like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if my voice is gonna suck. And he's like, trust me. And I'm like,
right.
Like, I'm my worst critic for sure.
Absolutely.
And for some guy to tell me that, and he wasn't bullshitting, like, when he said, oh, look me up. His resume is extensive, and he's like, just trust me. And by the end of it, I was like, this is fucking cool. Like, this is Sky Gypsy. This is an REP, and it's it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, and that was and even that was like, holy shit, this is getting better and better and better.
How many days did you spend in the studio?
3 days. The first day was actually, we were ahead of schedule because they were saying it could be like 4 to 5 days. And he was saying that, okay, today we're just going to lay down the beds. Like, you put the drums and the bass on it. And drums and bass, done halfway through the whole session. Then the next session we're throwing on guitar. And I think Alex did 3 songs that day, so he only had to do 2 more with me the next day. And it was insane how quick we were getting through this.
How exciting was the second morning waking up? How nervous was the first morning, and how excited were you?
The first morning was okay. The second one, not so much.
Really?
Like, I was nerves on, and Chris Herrera can throw a chair at me for being such a pain in the ass. Because I was like, I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Because that's when you were laying your vocals down.
Yeah, because the second day was all vocals.
So how was the third day? How relaxed was the third day?
The third day was amazing.
Spa.
I kicked my feet up. I didn't freak out, did I? I didn't freak out. And, because the whole time he's just like, because I'm sitting next to him the whole time, and he's just fucking hitting me in the knee and just going like, I fucking told you you're fine. Told you were fine.
Right.
And I'm just like, yeah. You're the best.
So that mug you got there,
Judge
Mathis, man. When I first moved here, I was working at this game stop, and this guy came in, and I was chatting with him. He was getting some shit for his kid. He was like, "Yeah, I work at the NBC building," and I was like, "What do you do there?" And he's like, "I'm the backstage manager for Judge Mathis." So I was like, "Oh, that's like the coolest thing I've ever heard of." And he took me down there to go see it one day. I took him up on some free tickets, and it's crazy, man. Like, you get to sit down. Have you ever? You've seen shows like Judge Mathis? I'm sure you've seen Judge Mathis.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's a staple, man. You can't go into a 7-Eleven with a TV without it playing, and you can't. And so behind like all the backstage stuff, they have like these warehouses, dude, where these people who come to the show, they're real people. Like, they'll travel in from like Louisiana or Texas or like all over the country, and they'll bring gifts. So they'll bring like giant tote bags from like a random church, and they'll be like, "We just want Judge Mathis to have a shirt from our annual picnic, and if you'd ever like to come by, you're more than welcome." And dude, it just goes into like a vault, like the Queen's gift room. And he gave me through a tour through it, dude. It was insane. It was insane. It was like being at like the CTA's Lost and Found. It was amazing. But yeah,
I found Oprah Winfrey mugs.
Well, I got to walk around the old Ellen set, and like it was weird because it was like all the lights were out kind of thing. He's like, yeah, hit the lights real quick, because he's got this magic walkie-talkie that does everything there because he's the backstage manager. So it's just like you could say whatever you want, and in some weird cabin in the woods control room, they're just like click, and there you go, and it happens. It's awesome, man. But yeah, that's where I got that.
The guy gets pissed when he calls him like, "Oh, turn the lights on." Yeah, whatever, you bastard.
Speaking of cabin in the woods, man, you're no stranger from like horror films.
I am not.
Are you a fan of the genre?
I am.
Did that go hand in hand with the music as well? Did you say?
Actually, in my metal band, I actually was. I wanted to write horror-based lyrics, and a lot of lyrics that I write could be based off of love or just everyday situations, which a lot of people do. But I wanted to do something like a horror based, and back in the day I was really like talking about like serial killers, and I actually wrote a song called Gypsy, and it was actually probably the last song we wrote before the band just like imploded. But it was a fun song, just talking about like John Wayne Gacy, and I was like, I'm gonna make this like a stage show too, because I asked my buddy James if like, hey, can you dress up like Pogo and walk around a bar with balloons? And he's like, yeah, for sure. But at the time we were messed up. It was a crazy night of drinking Steel Reserves. Like, first off, he was like, "Oh, I'll walk you home." And probably halfway home, we're both crying, and we don't know why we're crying. We just were crying. And I'm like crying and go, "James, can you be my Pogo on stage?" And he's like, "For sure, man, for sure. Where do I sign?" And I take out my phone and I'm like, "Just type your name." So that was a way of doing a contract back then.
Yeah, man.
But
it's like mailing a script to yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll text that. Text that to you. But it was a fun thing, and then I was projecting to a lot of people that I'm like, I really like horror films. I've always wanted to be an actor or director to something like that. So I met these guys back in high school that I was teaching improv classes at the time, and I met Alex and Tim Perez. And Alex was, to me, he wasn't the best performer, but he was a hell of a director, because he was always like, he would second guess himself by going out there. I don't want to go out there and do that, which was fine, because he'd be one of those guys that go out, say something, and then go, I could have said this. And I'm like, well, if you're an improviser, things,
Right.
We always say that.
The whole idea of going with the third idea.
Yeah,
I get you.
And so then he went into film school, and when he came out of there and graduated, he was making short films left and right. And I was very happy to hear a phone call from him saying, like, hey, I got this trailer that I want to do, and I want you to play a character in it. And I'm like, what kind of character? And he's like, I want you to play a cult leader. And I'm like, this guy knows me.
Right.
I got to play a cult. And, first thing I get there, I'm with a bunch of people. I'm with Tim and Alex, some of his family, and they put me into makeup, and I'm wearing a cloak. I got my pentagram shirt on and everything. And the trailer was called I Was a Teenage Cthulhu. And it was one of the funniest fucking things I saw when it was all said and done. I was like, this is fucking ridiculously awesome, And it was for a contest to see who had the funniest trailer or the best trailer. And I can't remember the fucking guy's name. He was an actor in Mad Max 2, Vern. Sorry, guys, if you're listening to this, shoot me for that.
Yeah, just put it in the comments, guys. Just help us out.
Yeah, just help me out, man. And after that, it was
phone a friend.
Yeah. And the next thing, it was like a bug. I just wanted to start filming, because watching Alex work was incredible. And so I was thinking of ideas to something I wanted to do, and a lot of the stuff I wanted to do was way too out of price range. So then I was like, I'm gonna make something that's not too crazy. So I started writing a crazy script, and it started with me sitting on a toilet. I was on a toilet, and I was like, man, this would be fucking scary if just something popped out of that fucking behind the shower curtain and got me.
Oh yeah.
And the only thing I could think of, if something dropped out at me, I would drop one. Yeah. And then I'm like, good, write that down. I start writing, and I came up with this idea called the bowel movement. And it's about a girl that she wakes up having a hard day, or had a hard night before, and she was on her way to get ready for work. And right as she's about to leave, she's like, oh, I got this pain in my stomach. I need to go take a shit right now. But she's like, nope, I gotta go to work. So throughout her day, she's trying to go to the bathroom. But there is a side part of this story that there is a demon in demonology named Belphegor. And Belphegor is the demon of sloth. And it is written that in the sacred stone of this, that this demon gets his offerings from that moment that you're on the shitter.
Beautiful.
And I was like, this is fucking gold. Like, somebody actually wrote this down 3,000, 2,000 years ago saying, this is a demon that wants your poop. And so throughout her day, she is followed by this demon. Tormented by it. So she's going to work at her job at Fucko's Fudge Factory.
Fucko's Fudge Factory.
You know how extensive that toilet thinking was going on. And and I was at work one day, and I'm like, she's got to go to a bar. She's got to go to a bar, and she can't use the bathroom at that bar. And I thought of what kind of bar would she go to?
Is this made up?
This is all.
I'm just saying, is this finished now? Is this a complete project?
It should be finished by the end of December. I'm praying to God we just have we have one last scene to shoot. It's a head crushing scene.
Oh shit!
So
like in Scanners, where they just made a mold of the head and shot it with a shotgun.
We
blast.
just need the demon to squish Fucko's head, and just watch.
Not to spoil the film.
Not to spoil it. Fucko gets fucked up.
Fucko gets pretty fucked up. Well, when the time comes around, for sure, we're definitely if you guys get it up on YouTube or anything, we'll definitely put a link out there or Vimeo or something. That's interesting though, because like my first little I didn't go to film school, but I had a friend who was like my first roommate in Chicago, who was also like my closest buddy back home. You know what I mean? Like I watched him go off to film school and then see like he's making some shit after we made some shit in the basement. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that kind of like sparked underneath me. Like that's another reason to move there. Like I can go try this improv thing. I'll go out there and try doing some film work and like, you know what I mean? Just like dance around these communities a little bit, see what I can meet. And my first one was called Drain, and it came to me while I got a nosebleed in a bathroom. Like I got a nosebleed in a shower, and I was looking down.
Most great stories come from a bathroom.
Right, and I was wondering where the blood was going once it hit and swirled around the drain. I was like, "Where's that blood go?" So I made a little horror short out of it. It's a good thing, man. So when yours is up, before that, after this is all pod is wrapped up, I'll definitely send that your way so you can check it out
For sure.
But yeah, man, it's fun doing films with your friends. It's a lot of fun. People always think that like you need to have $10 million and like you need The Rock to sign on, and like, they feel like success is hitting it big. You know what I mean? Which I guess to an extent it is, but at the same time, like we talked about before, if you're waking up every day, and even if you have that shit job, or you have to clock in somewhere and spend X amount of hours of your day here.
Yeah.
That doesn't define who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That defines how you make this income. Like everyone, if you're smart, you have to have multiple forms of an income. Whether it's I'm going to start this early and hopefully one day it'll pay off in the long run, or if it's I got 2 free drinks and I didn't sit in front of my couch tonight and I went out and did a show and I got to meet some people and give them a card,
right,
and then talk a little bit. And now when I go home and my head's about to hit the pillow, look at that, I got 4 more likes today. And now that is the
craziest. That's the craziest fucking feeling. Like you're looking at likes, and I mean, like people make memes about to laugh at you, going like, "Oh, let me see if I get likes on this today." But I mean, like after you bust your stones, going like, "All right, I just did this show. I got people to show up, and I just recorded something." Getting even like just a few likes fucking feels amazing. A comment, a share, because I mean, nothing makes you feel like you're doing something right is when people acknowledge that you're existing, And like we were talking about earlier, like if anybody, I support anybody that has the drive to do these things, like do any kind of art form or even make your own business or something. Doing it is the whole thing, like it is stressful. It's not easy. But you got to keep going. You got to remember that, not everybody got this handed to them. It's the fun part of doing it is that you're meeting people. You're on a podcast,
right?
And you start to kind of feel like that there's some meaning behind what you're doing. Is when people are starting to recognize you, going, "Hey, let me talk to you," or "Hey, let me buy you a drink," or "Hey, when's your next show?" Or "Hey, I like what I heard or what I saw." That's what makes it great. But if you're just gonna sit down and expect the world to find you where you're sitting, it's not gonna happen.
Right. See, like for example, I've always gravitated towards music in some sense, but I've never been able to play an instrument, and no one around me ever played music, so I always was just there as a listener. And then one day...
that makes you just as much as a musician as somebody else.
To an extent, I'd like to think. And one day, like you were talking earlier, how like your grandpa was like, "Hey, sing this song." You know what I mean? And like you got to see people's face kind of like glowing, like, "Oh shit, he's doing well." You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. With me, it was my grandma got a karaoke machine. All my aunts and uncles went in on a karaoke machine for my grandma. And she loved it because she got to sing like her like best of the 50s malt shop songs that she used to sing. And she was like, I used to go to like this little piano club thing in town, and I would go up there and sing a song or two, and the band knew the songs and stuff. And stuff. And so like when I got to Chicago, karaoke was kind of my thing because I didn't know
anyone besides like my roommates. You know what I mean? I didn't grow up here. I didn't have circles I ran with. I didn't know like you can get off at this stop and have this experience, or you can get off at the next stop and have this experience. And like you know, Chicago's 26 miles, but there's a lot happening in the meantime. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, like, I kind of gravitated towards that karaoke experience because that's what I would do. And when I was a kid, I used to live out in the middle of this field, man. Like, I swear to God. You know, you've been on a plane before?
Never been.
Never been on a plane?
Soon, though. I want a trip to Cancun.
Have you ever seen images from, like, a plane up in the air looking down and you see, like, these giant checkers of, like, fields or anything like that? Like, have you ever... When the first time... You said you're going to fly where?
I'm going to Cancun.
You're going to Cancun? So at some point, once you leave Chicago, if you have a window seat and you're looking down, the ground from the sky, when you're going over, like, the in-between of all the cities and shit, and, like, it's completely black and you're in this fucking... this tube of toothpaste flying through space. I mean, what the fuck's happening, really? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm no rocket scientist. I checked out pretty early in the plane department, to be real. I just buy a ticket. But when you're up there and you're looking down and it's day, for example, you're gonna see just giant like checkerboards. It's so weird because over the plain states like Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, like all of these places where it's mostly agriculture is the main income. Where I lived in literally the middle of this like. You could probably fit Edgewater in the field that I was living in. It was just a field. Like, you didn't see anything. The night sky was insane. It was huge. But what I would do is I would sit on my back porch. And my parents used to always yell at me because I'd always be like, not yell, but like, I'd be singing that loud fucking like, rattlesnake shake, rattlesnake shake. You know what I mean? Like, just like going around the house, like being super loud, and to where like, if I had a kid these days and they were running around like screaming shit, like go outside with that or something. Like, please find a space. You know what I mean?
There's what I used to do too. Like back in the day, me and my friends, we'd basically be like a bike gang, like trick bike gang, and we would
doing wheelies and shit.
You know, rebellious kids.
Fuck yeah!
And we would ride our bikes up and down the streets, and you know, my buddy would always say like, "Stevo, do it again," and just start screaming. Start screaming TNT, you know, I'm TNT, I'm dynamite, TNT, right. And just scream this at the top of my lungs going down the street. And I'm like, and when I think about it, like that was probably one of the first times I was really like, you know, getting used to
being as loud as you can
and be as loud as I can. Yeah. And, you know, people would go like, fuck yeah, that's the shit. And then it was like, one of my old friends came to see me perform, and he's like, I remember riding on our bikes and you were fucking screaming this shit. And I'm like, yeah, it's nothing new now. Right. You know.
And for me, that feeling of being like seeing how far you could push your voice. Like I was in like theater classes and shit. Mm-hmm. They would always say like when you're on stage, you don't have a microphone. Like project to the back of the room and shit like that. Like make your voice heard to the door and shit. So I was always hearing that kind of shit. And so what I would have is I'd have cornfields that would grow over the summer. Okay, and right before like they would really get mowed down. If you're standing up on this little like 6-foot porch and you're looking out, literally as far as your eye can see, there's no buildings. You know what I mean? It's not Chicago. Like you can't throw a stone to like the next 4 buildings. Like how my setup is. Like you can see out a little bit, but normally it's a Soviet view. You know what I mean? It's a brick wall. So when I was out there, I would pretend that was like a giant stadium, like all of this corn flowing and shit, like that's my crowd right there, and I want that tree line to hear me, and I'd just be out there belting shit. And I remember one time my neighbor came up and was like, "Are you dying? Like, what's happening up here?" I just hear screaming and yelling, and I'm like,
just rattlesnake shit.
Oh, hair metal as fuck. Get out of here, Grandma. Pack it up, take it to church. I ain't got time for it here. Devil horns up. Just shout. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was like my dad. My dad grew up in like the farmlands and shit, and he was son of farmers and whatnot. So like they were very like Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, like outlaw country era was like where he rested. But my mom and my aunts and uncles on her side, they were all about like hair metal at the time, and then my uncle got really into Marilyn Manson once he hit, and then like, but eventually it evolved to like Gorillaz. Like it was just like a really interesting balance between the two genres that you would hear at Christmas or like the garage parties and shit. And that was actually like my first time hearing Ozzy. To bring back to yours earlier, was my uncle was driving his truck and probably just cracking a cold one or something, and he's just flying down these country roads. There's nothing out here for miles, and like occasionally he'd like hit his horn for like 2 minutes to make sure no deers were coming or something, and he cranked Crazy Train. He had this cassette that had like Crazy Train on it. It was one of those like mixtapes that he made himself. But I remember Dracula was on it too.
That was another one that fucking got me
and
going.
He was just like, I've never been in a car where an adult literally cranked it to the max and bought speakers for this reason in this little truck. It's like I remember the seats going zzz, and like my mouth chattering and shit, and just hearing like all aboard. I was like, oh fuck, like who's this man? And he's like, it's fucking Ozzy Osbourne. Hitting the fourth gear shift. And just like, so like. That music, to me at least, and like even and I apologize for keep going back to Brown Cow, but like that one is so fucking groovy, dude, because like you hit notes in it as a vocalist that remind me of so many different. I don't want to say like you're not taking it from them at all, but you can see where like some of your vocal inspirations have come from just in the lyrics and in your tone with it. Like there's parts where I'm like, man, like whether he like was going for it or not, but that made me feel like I was listening to an Ozzy song, like just a little bit, and it's not even like in a bad way, but like a good Ozzy song. Like that's the vibe I'm getting, because he respects that artist so much that there's so many things that make us up over time. You know what I'm saying? And like we can't deny it. There's artists today that I could be like, yeah, it reminds me a lot of this band. You know what I mean? I still respect it for what they are. Don't get me wrong, but like I see where they drew their inspiration from as well.
Exactly.
Because unfortunately and a little naive, like I don't know what inspirations came from the people who are 50 or 60, because they learned from people who were 80 to 120. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like when you think of where we're at in time, so like it's just fucking mind-blowing how far back music can go, and what you hear now from recent classics, like the shit that plays in the grocery store. I'm sure when Bohemian Rhapsody came out, no one ever thought it would play at the Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like when Ozzy first came out and everything around him, no one ever thought you'd hear Mama, I'm Coming Home in an Aldi, and no one give a shit, and they're all just like, I fucking forget, I dig this song.
Fuck,
you know
I'm
gonna
buy this.
Like at the same time though, like I did this bit when I was doing stand-up for a while, where I was talking about how like I can't wait until I'm like 50, and like I whip my hair back and forth is like the thing in the fucking, you know, waiting at the DMV, and everyone's like, I remember this tune. You know what I mean? The kids are like, what
and
the fuck
smile.
is this? Right, you know what I mean? Like
I've always thought that too, because I mean, bring it back to Brown Cow, was like when we were sitting down with that song, like I heard Max talking about this song called Brown Cow, and I'm like, what the fuck is this, you know? Because they had a song called Whale Tail, and it's an instrumental, and I was like, what is with these song titles? And then my bass player Steve's just like, these are my song names. And when I thought, I was like, oh, it's about chocolate milk, you know, I'm gonna write a song about chocolate milk. And then they're like, no, Steve, come on, no, that's not what it's fucking about. And I'm like, oh, what's it about then? And they're like, oh, it's about Jack and the Beanstalk, when, you know, Jack trades his brown cow for the beans. And I'm like, oh,
right on.
Right on. That's a good way to look at it, you know. And I wrote the lyrics. It was very last second. We were in the studio. I wrote them down because I had a rough idea what they wanted, and you know, it was one of those songs that we all were in the same room just going like, yep, that's a good one. That's a good one. And we're like, all right, let's brown cow it up, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's been our crowd pleaser for like every show, like. Everybody knows Brown Cow.
Is that your opener, or is that like...
That's like the middle of it.
Yeah, that's just to kind of like wake them up real quick.
Yeah, like we have a lot of openers, and you know, Devil in Disguise is always our closer, but middle set, Brown Cow. And you know, we'll see people that have seen us, you know, 20 plus times, and they'll fucking, you know, still headbanging, still fucking cheering, because when we go out there, we're like, all right, everybody get down with the brown, and it's a fucking ball buster. It's a lot of fun. And
get some Brown Cow merch out there, some patches.
And that's also played in the Bowel Movement, the short film I made.
Yeah.
It's played during our scene Tubby Tummy Tuesdays, which is my rendition to a Hooters but fat dudes. And I'm in drag in that scene.
Dig it, man.
I'm dressed like a very voluptuous B. Arthur. And fucking but that I was like thinking, like, I gotta plug one song into this film, and I plugged that one, and it fits so well with, like, because we have like dudes like acting like they're strippers. Tim Perez is wearing a fucking ball gag. Not to give you too much information about it, but it's honestly, once it's all finished, you guys are gonna fucking laugh your ass off. It's hysterical.
I can't wait to see it.
Alex put so much work into it. Alexa, she's my main actress in there. She fucking killed it. Natalie with makeup did a great job. Tim Schafer as the monster, and Megan on one part. But it was a lot of work put into it.
DIY, y'all pitched in together to make it happen, right?
Yeah, my friend Vanessa did makeup for me throughout the movie, because I never thought I was going to be acting it. I just thought I was going to be, sit behind and see what's going on. And I played Brooke Bennett, the hoary best friend, which I was like, I'm gonna give this horror.
What's the name?
Brooke Bennett.
Brooke Bennett.
Yeah, and I'm a very sleazy, whorish kind of gal. And I talk like this.
I like my women just a little on the trashy side.
You want it?
This pod's gonna get taken down by Facebook or something. Someone's gonna be like, "They made too many musical references."
Yeah. Shut them down.
Big Brother's gonna hit that button.
We're gonna get hit by Motley Crue.
Right. Fucking Motley Crue. God damn it. Man, do you remember Rock of Love?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Were you about that show or what? Be honest.
I was not.
Was that disgraceful for the legacy?
See, my friend in high school, Jessica, I'd go over to her house, and I would bring a big-ass fucking thing of CDs, because I'd carry around my CD case, and I would always put something on in her karaoke speaker, and I would just headbang and scream these lyrics with her. And then she's like, "Oh, you gotta check out Rock of Love." And I'm like, "With Bret Michaels from Poison?" And she's like, yeah, he's the best. I love Poison. And back then, I was into I was being told by thrash metalheads, like, don't fucking listen to this shit. And I'm like, I can't listen to this, like the thrash guys, they don't dig with hair metal bands. Because I was listening to fucking.
It's like a biker gang.
Yeah, exactly. I was still listening to Motley Crue. There was nothing they can change with me changing with Motley Crue or Twisted Sister. But I was
Snyder. Come on,
yeah,
man.
I was.
Come on, man.
D. Snyder.
You
You can't knock that guy. But when it came to listening to Cinderella or Poison or Bon Jovi, and she loved Bon Jovi, I fucking can't stand that guy. But I can appreciate some of it, but it's just and as long as they're not like Bruce Springsteen just kills me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hair metal bands are fun. They got some good shit out there, but I know the ones that are over the top, like Great White's over the top, White Lion. If it has white in it besides White Snake, they're doing it a little bit too much.
Yeah.
A little bit too much white.
A little too much. What do you think is the best mainstream band of your genre? Maybe not your genre specifically, but who do you think are staying true to what rock means?
Staying true
to it.
I mean, I have to say Alice Cooper's still fucking killing it.
He owns a hot dogs shop.
He owns a lot.
He owns a lot of things, man.
I've seen him the most out of any other performer next to Slayer. But Alice Cooper, every time I see him, always a kick-ass job. The show never gets dull. It feels like you've seen it. You've seen it 1,000 times, but he just does it so well. And the new stuff he writes, he's got that rock and roll vibe to it. And if he writes something that could be disco, like because his nightmare is, he doesn't like disco music. So if he writes it, that's going to be on his Nightmare albums, It's like, oh my God, Alice Cooper wrote a fucking disco song? Kill him,
Right.
But,
burn the witch!
Yeah. But he's so true to it, and he just keeps rocking it. And and I can say the same thing for another great band, was Motorhead. God bless Lemmy's soul. Like, that guy, every goddamn album was just so new, even though it was, just dun 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 dun. He just had that gallop, and his voice just went miles. And and then Dave Grohl, takes that influence and keeps that going. It's like, you need the true rockers to be out there. You don't need these guys that are going for a paycheck. Like, I used to love Kiss, but I can't do it. Like, I just watch how they're sabotaging their fans sometimes. It's just like,
I'm not sure if for me personally, at least with Kiss, I'm not sure if it was the band itself that kind of drew me away, or Gene Snyder becoming such a pop culture icon.
Gene Simmons?
Simmons, did I say Snyder?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, my bad. I've been sipping a little whiskey, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever I said, the sponsors this week, it's now whiskey drinking.
I've been drinking O'Doul's.
O'Doul's, though, he's taking his time with it. He's enjoying his day. Don't even worry. We got a little wild cherry on the table today, too, folks. We got some juice.
Oh, yeah,
some
still
juice
got
boxes.
that. Oh, I'm gonna
and you know what I love
that.
the most about it? It's a generic Capri Sun, but it's got a red straw, and I figure that's punk as fuck.
That is badass.
Yeah, those weird yellow straws we used to have. No, it's red now.
Off-brand is the best.
But yeah, like I just feel like with Kiss it was just like Simmons, just the way he started. He did the every rocker that kind of did a reality show except for Ozzy, because Ozzy's was just entertaining as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
I dug the shit out of it. Like, there's few people who've like transitioned from a celebrity status of music or art or pop, like whatever, but then go to like, I'm gonna sit on the screen and like be entertaining. Like when Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey, they were like, we're gonna live together and do this shit. Like, I thought that was the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But then watching like Sharon and Ozzy running around and watch Ozzy like stumble down the stairs, and he's like, I'm fine. It's just something weird.
Or
like,
see him like say, oh, Bubbles, I'm the bloody fucking Prince of Darkness, Bubbles.
Like, just like, it was amazing to like to see into that world a little bit after knowing of who he was.
And it was completely real too.
Right, I've never seen another one, but then again, I saw what I needed to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, out of that kind of like, we're gonna put cameras everywhere and let you live, that show takes the fucking cake to me.
Yeah.
Viva La Bam was another one though.
Yeah.
Viva La Bam kind of fucked me up, like, as a kid, because I did some real shitty things because of that show. Like, when you were saying you would ride around on your bike and have like a little bicycle gang and shit. Yeah, we had the same idea. Like, I still got a board in the house, but I don't go out, kind of thing.
We would do this as fucking kids, because we were watching Jackass all the time. Like, we would go down the alleys and pull down fucking dumpsters and call it tornadoing. And then one time we went to or a couple times, I can't say one, we would go to Blockbuster, and they remember that? Mm-hmm. And they pushed me into the rack where all the new movies came out, so I would jump into it, and all the movies would come down, the racks would come down.
You piece of shit.
and then I would just get up and go, I tripped, and run. And it was the stupidest thing, because I'm like, I look at myself now and I go, you are such an asshole. Like, why would you do that? But, God, we had a lot of good laughs for like 30 minutes after.
Right. I used to work in a mom and pop video store, and I remember when people would bring their kids in, I'd be like, hold your kid. Like, just make sure. Oh, shit. 1 second. It's all good. Oh. It's all right. I got backups. Don't sweat it.
All right. You want mine?
No. I don't trust it anymore. I don't trust it. I got my backup. Fuck it. We're already at like the hour and a half mark. I'll just stand for the last bit. Well, shit, man. This was a lot of fun.
I'd love to have you back in real quick before we get this all wrapped up, though. What's going on, man? You got any show dates you want to pimp? You got anything you want to get out there? You want to talk about social medias? You want to talk about, whatever you got going, man? Take a second and let the folks at home know what you're up to.
So right now it's we have no shows at the moment, but we are looking to be having some shows starting in January. Right now we're getting everything put together with our website, our merchandise, our LPs, are getting our EP into print, and we're talking about making these USB drives for it's a new different type of technology to plug your the EP into any USB outlet and it will be played. Because since CDs are kind of being obsolete, they're trying something different. But ours will be in the shape of a dog tag. So it's a really cool it's a really cool different way of giving out our EP. It's merch and it's the EP. It also have posters on it. We're coming posters in it, and it'll have hopefully a little documentary thing in there for you guys to know a little bit more about the band. But we're still moving through that because it's a little bit of a process, and we should have something up in the next couple days to link up to our sale because it's almost the holidays. You want to get the EP for Christmas or the New Year, Brown Cow's the way to go. And then also hopefully the Bowel Movement film should be done by this month, so you guys all can come check it out. It's a very funny.
We'll have to set up a viewing party or something.
Yeah, a viewing party would be fantastic.
And we'll get a bunch of people together. Let's make a film festival. Damn it!
Film fest.
Festival. Why not? We'll start a
get high
series.
and take a dump.
We'll all sit around and kick it. Well, thank you so much, man, for being on the show.
Thank you, brother.
One last thing before we fully wrap this up. If ever this pod reaches anybody who is thinking about going for it, what words of advice do you have now that you've went for it and you're still going for it? So what do you have to inspire the masses or the youth who might come across this silly little show?
I would definitely say think about what you're doing. Don't take a huge leap into something that you're not sure of that you can handle. If you can't handle stress, if you can't handle a little bit of criticism, then I wouldn't say this is for you. But if you are dedicated to your craft, absolutely fucking go for it. Don't let anybody tear you down. Take the criticism, but don't take that as you are awful. Keep going, move forward. Don't quit your day job. But just make sure you stay driven, stay grounded, and I hope you're the best. I hope you're the best.
Thanks, buddy, and we hope you the best. And I know I said that was the one last thing, but I one thing we forgot to talk about, and I just want this as the final note. What advice do you have for people who have never been to Chicago and want to come and check it out? Tell me about the city, just for a moment.
I'd say definitely come check out the comedy scene. The comedy scene's still alive, still really booming. Go check out Comedy Sports Chicago. They got some really great ensemble members and a really great show. Check out the I.O. Theater. They haven't had a bad show in a long time I can think of. And and check out the food, man, for sure. Check out the food. And get a good slice of pizza from Giordano's or Illuminati's, and just don't be mean to people. We're nice people over here. Don't think we're everywhere you go around that you're gonna get shot. That's not the fun part about Chicago. I'm gonna stick up for. It's not Chirac, it is Chicago.
Chicago. Maybe don't you want to go?
Don't you want to go to Chicago?
All right, man. Well, this was a blast and a half, and I look forward to having you back on towards the end of the year once we got these projects up and rolling.
Absolutely.
All right?
I would love to.
Until then, my friend, keep rocking. Keep
Thank
everything
you.
going strong.
Thank you for having me,
Ladies
Tyler.
and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed the show. Once again, Isolated Brigade is the band's name. The Bowel Movement is the film. And so we're going to have links underneath below. You guys can check them out on Spotify. You guys probably iTunes, YouTube, all that good shit. Like, we'll get you guys all lined up with it underneath. And go over there, check out their page, like the stuff, check out the music, because it's actually really good. And like I said earlier, I don't like to pick sides when it comes to genres, but I genuinely enjoyed your music, so thank you so much for putting the time, the effort, and the practice, because you don't learn it overnight. And so I would just like to say, from person to person, friend to friend, even this being our first conversation over 5 minutes.
Jeez, and you know it's been over 5 years since we've seen each other. And, it's been fucking crazy.
You're a great guy, man. Thank you so much for
welcome home.
Appreciate it. And yeah, guys, have a good one. Be safe to each other. Be kind.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, love each other in the right way. See you guys. Bye.
Kisses.
I swear to God, he's just a peach. You know what I'm saying? He's the nicest guy in the world, but you see him and you're like, damn. He's got a little height to him. He's got a little build to him. He's got that chain wallet and that leather jacket and that fuck you look on his face. But you know what? It wipes right away, and he's the sweetest, kindest person that I know here in the city. And so thank you again, Stevo. This has been a blast. I can't wait to have you back in, like we just said, but I got to do an outro for it. So folks, once again, the band's called the Isolated Brigade. We're called High and Low, and the movie's called The Bowel Movement. You can check them all out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The music you can find over there on SoundCloud, on my apologies, I said SoundCloud. I meant to say YouTube. You can find it over there on Apple Music, and you can also find it on Facebook as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We're getting one step closer to 20, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, we're going to have my buddy Jerome back in for every episode that ends in 0, and we're going to have some new guests on the horizon. I can't wait. I hope you guys are excited. This is going to be a blast. So everybody, dog outside starts barking right when I'm about to close this out, man. You got to bark. You got to bark. I don't feel like redoing it. Love you guys. See you soon. Join the brigade.